wait for some more folks to trickle in. All right. I think we are 2 minutes underway into the meeting. So let's get started. I hope I am audible.
Yes, Karthik.
Thanks, Akram. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the Litmus Community Sync Up meeting for the month of April. And I hope you've all had a great day. And let's go ahead and take a look at the agenda for today. I'm going to share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. So you have the agenda for today. It's going to be a set of user stories that we're going to hear. We're going to be introduced to a couple of community members. Kadir from Dell and Omar from, he's doing some academic research and he's going to talk about his use case. We have some Litmus usage updates from Summer, from the Orange team. And we have a quick demonstration of some interesting features from 2.0 beta 4. And we'll be talking about interesting stuff that has happened over the last couple of beta releases. I think since the last time we met, we've had beta 3 and beta 4 against 2.0. So Amit is going to take us through some cool features that have been developed during this time. And once we are through with all this, we'll talk about the release updates on 1.13.3. I'm sure a lot of you folks are on the 1.x branch of Litmus, version of Litmus. So there have been some improvements there. We'll take you through that. If you like something else that you want to talk about, if you have any topics that you want to add to the agenda, please go ahead. Please do add yourselves as attendees here. I'm just going to share this link with you all. It's globally editable. So please feel free to add your attendance and ask questions as we go. We have some very interesting use cases and very interesting persona that are going to join us. So with that, I'll probably pass off to Prithvi. begin with a very short community roundup. We've been having a lot of events where we've been advocating cloud native chaos engineering in general, and also introducing folks to Litmus. And that's helped us in increasing the adoption. It's basically helped us bring more awareness around Litmus. We got some very interesting feedback around the framework itself as a result of interacting with SREs and developers during these meetups. And we've taken that feedback back into the product. So we will have a very quick intro around all these community events by Prithvi, and then we'll dive into the actual agenda items. I think Kadir has joined us. We also have a few important announcements, something that I forgot to add into the agenda. Let me do that. We have Akram here from the Vscale team, and they are planning a Chaos Week. So I'll let Akram talk more about that. So I'll add that as one of the agenda items, probably before we talk about the Litmus 2.0 beta 4 features and the release items. So let me just slot in the announcement of Chaos Week there. All right. I'll probably fix this. Meanwhile, I'll stop sharing and let Prithvi take you through the community roundup very quickly. Prithvi, you want to take over?
Sure, Karthik. Karthik, I don't have a slide deck, so probably you can keep on sharing and I'll go ahead with the updates by myself. So hello everyone. First of all, a very warm welcome to the Litmus community call. I think glad to have you all. I see a lot of new folks, Patrick, then Omar, Kadivaran. So welcome everyone. And then I'll just go ahead quickly with the community updates. A few updates from my side. So first of all, talking about the meetups that we have been joining, I think Litmus contributors as well as everyone part of the community is welcome to join any meetups that they want. And over the past few weeks, we have joined a lot of meetups. We went on speaking about Litmus at the Convoyer meetup, and then we also joined the Colorado meetup. That's the Kubernetes Colorado meetup. And coming up, we'll be talking at the Kubernetes Community Days Africa, and we are expecting to join Kubernetes Community Days Australia as well as Bangalore and all everywhere. And the meetup ratio has been great. I think we always promote Litmus folks joining these meetups to talk about chaos engineering, and that is one of the reasons why chaos engineering is coming up in the community. And I think Akram will be talking more about it. And following that, we have Karthik and another community member, Jürgen from Captain, who's the maintainer of Captain, will be joining KubeCon, where there will be KubeCon Europe 2021, where they will be talking about chaos engineering and the integration between Litmus and Captain. So these are the meetups that we have been joining, and I think the webinars around chaos engineering are helping the Litmus community grow. And talking about the feedback that we have received from the community, I think there has been a lot of feedback. We have received a few feedback. One of them is obviously on the documentation side. So I would like to welcome all the folks out here to, if they feel like contributing, they can come up and contribute to the docs for the 2.0 version. But on the 1.x version side, I think there has been a lot of appreciation for it. And then secondly, we have received a few inputs on how we can improve the Litmus version. I think there have been issues which I would like to address. For example, ease of usability, which Karthik addressed in one of the community sync up calls, which we had a couple of months ago. And this was again addressed by one of the community folks named Chris, who's also using other chaos engineering tools. So I think ease of usability is going to be addressed with 2.0. A lot of new features will surely address that. And the folks are complaining that there are a lot of YAML files that they have to use to curate chaos. So I think that is one thing we need to address. And other than that, the second thing is the experimentation. I think this was one of the updates we got yesterday itself, that people are looking for node black hole as well as pod black hole experiments. So I think these experiments are something which will help the community in their use case. So I think these are the things which are going around the community right now, with a lot of more webinars or more events coming around Litmus Chaos, and also the Kubernetes Chaos Engineering Meetup, which addresses what is coming up in 2.0 and what has already been updated for 2.0 beta and the portal. So folks, I think, I mean, these are the community updates in a very short span. I don't want to take a lot of time, but feel free to put your suggestions in chat or in the Litmus Slack itself. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Prithvi. That was helpful. In case any of you is interested in announcing what you're doing with Litmus to the larger public, and you want a slot in any of these chaos engineering meetups that the Litmus team helps organize, do let us know. Let's move on to the intros and user stories. We've got Kadir upfront from Dell. Hi, Kadir. Would you like to introduce yourself and go for it?
Hi, I'm Kadir. So currently I'm working Dell. Right now I'm doing POC in that chaos engineering. So right now I'm working on pod experiment part I'm doing. So first of all, before I'm telling that, your documentation is good. From step by step, everything will be clear. We can blankly follow the steps. But if any steps went wrong, something went wrong, the troubleshooting part will be a little bit tough because we can't find out what went wrong. So the documentation part, it will be helpful for people who follow the blankly. If troubleshooting parts, we have to, I'm suggested we have to go for more focus on and issues. That after that, so so it's now right now it's open source. So if for example, if I am faced a lot of issues in that part, I am currently I did for 5 experiment. That after 5 experiment I faced a lot of issues. So I always engage with Karthik. Me and Karthik will work and fix that issues. The thing is like, first my suggestion is like, we can't predict how much time it will be take. Each part should come up and each container should come up. It depends on many metrics like node metrics and then application metrics. So in chaos durations, total durations, it will be not sufficient for people who's doing for chaos engineering in production, because suggestion is like, for example, if each pod will coming up for 3 minutes, our chaos duration we have to give for on 80 seconds. That so instead of giving seconds, better we can go ahead for that iterations. I need to perform this pod deletion iteration for 3 times or 2 times. So instead of going with time durations, we can go ahead with that iterations. That is my suggestion. Apart from that, so right now all the pods, right? So container for today I am testing that container kill experiment. In that container kill experiment, what I feel like, so each sometimes pod will take more time to come up. But that helper pod, it won't wait for that much time. Karthik suggested that we can go ahead with that timeout value in that engine.yaml file. But Karthik, just now I tested that. I make it at 500, the timeout 500 seconds, but it is nowhere it's used. It is not taking that 500 value. So that means it is not working that method. I just know I increase the timeout value and then test that container kill experiment, but I'm always getting fail result, because the container will take more time compared than the default timeout. So that is that container kill part. And then we have, after that I tried to next experiment is like network related experiment I did. So for example, if I didn't I forget to provide that destination IP address for network latency, I'm getting that destination host unreachable error. So if packet loss only, that experiment is, I'm not sure why I'm getting destination host unreachable error in that latency test. Latency test or corruption, I think, but it is not related to that particular experiment. I got an error like network host unreachable error. if I'm do the packet loss experiment, that's fine. The network is was untouchable is that expected result, that is fine. If you go for other experiment, if you not provide that value, I'm getting that worst untouchable experiment. So the concern is if the value is not provided something, it will go and pick the default value and perform that proper experiment. Latency test means it will be 2000 something, it will be default will picking of experiment, right? So it should pick. If I didn't forget, if I not given that value, it is not I'm getting that worst untouchable error. So that one issues I faced. Apart from that, that horizontal auto pod scaling is enabled. So we have to my suggestion is that is that if you go for basic pod level testing, that main important experiment is like pod deletion, container kill. After that, auto scaling. So apart from the after that only that a network related stuff will come. So HPA comes in if HPA is enabled for the particular application. That auto scaling is not working. So we already discussed. Me and Karthik will discuss about that. So we need to do some logic things. If a HPA is enabled, how we can perform that operations. That one I faced issues. After that, in that label session, annotation checks in that engine.yaml file, we specify that annotation check, right? So we need clear information about, because our environment, so most of the companies won't use labels in the deployment. For our auto scaling, that auto scaling experiments, it's required the deployment. So I don't know, I spent for whole day because my experiment is failed. Finally, I got to know we need to add the label in the deployment.yaml file. So these informations we can't go and Google it and find out that issues answers. So it will be better we can keep all that prerequisites. If you are doing auto scaling, it will be how the flow will happen. In documentations, I couldn't find anywhere in the prerequisite. The prerequisite you specify that chaos engine or experiment is required, but you have to mention that the same way we need enable the label in the deployment. Then only that is a prerequisite. If I'm performing auto scaling experiment, the deployment should have the label. That is the prerequisite, but I couldn't find anywhere in the documentation. So that's why I'm suggesting that if I'm performing any experiment, it should be good to have prerequisites perfectly fine. Okay, that is the my suggestion. Apart from that, we have to improve. I am suggesting that the troubleshooting part, right? So we need to more focus about the troubleshooting part, contribution. Now, troubleshooting part in the sense I'm telling that contribution. So it is now it will be open source. So if I am performing POC. If I will inform Karthik. So this is the issue I faced. Please update the document, the troubleshoot part. So in future, in any newcomers come, that maybe that is a common error. So everyone will use that same thing. They will use to go to troubleshooting step and then perform. Initially, when I started in the troubleshooting step, they mentioned that annotation check is true, because I given annotation check is true, and then I applied, but at the end, the sidecar container caching issue. So I don't know why sidecar containers. So in the troubleshooting step, nowhere mention the sidecar, because most of the organization definitely they will use the traffic will go through that service mesh. So here our documentations is nowhere mentioned that how we can deal with the service mesh. So I raised that GitLab issues regarding this because last 3 weeks I'm doing this experiment. Every day I'm facing different errors. So morning we and Karthik discussed to test that container kill. That time I worked. So in evening night, so I asked Karthik to how we can this one helper part should wait to check that particular container health. it's wait for particular time because that timeout value is not working properly. I given 500 seconds, still I got that error after. But I'm doing everything into pipeline. Pipeline result showing fail. In that chaos result is showing failed, but I'm going to that pod level, pod is restarted. So which means experiment is done, but that helper pod is terminated before updating the result. Okay, so these are the minor changes we have to do. We have to more focus on that side, experiment side. So right now I did for 5 experiment: network loss, network correction, network latency, pod deletion, and then container kill. So maximum network part I don't have access for near node level, so I tested in local. So it seems to be working as expected, but in that container kill and pod deletions, only I faced a lot of issues because we can't predict that it will be many metrics, the node level, load, memory, and then scheduler. Everything will be a lot of metrics should be. We need to focus on that. So first of all, my suggestion is the helper pod should wait to update the result where we can set that time, because helper pod will wait for some duration. After that, it will terminate it. But at the end, I will go and check that particular container that it will be restarted. But I got result is failure. So I am doing everything will be pipeline. So in this scenario, I know that how that infrastructure, how that flow will be there, runner, chaos operator, chaos helper only doing all the stuff. After that, it will be terminating once the engine will be done. So I know that end-to-end functionality, but I'm not using for this one. This is my scope is only setup. So after that, this experiment will be tested with many people who don't have access for the pod, who don't have access for the network node. So that time they will say that this job is failing. So which means our application is working fine, but at the end the result is failure. So we need to correct that where we can adjust the timeout value. That is that stuff, because we can't predict that how much time that container or pod will come up, because it depends on the node load. So we need to check on that node part. So right now I perform this pod level testing only. This much issues I faced. Karthik helped me a lot. Whenever I'm getting error, I will ping and Karthik, he will suggest us some more ideas. But this is my thought.
Yeah, I think your feedback is well taken, Kadir. So I'm just trying to summarize the learnings. There needs to be more troubleshooting information, and there needs to be more logs that are telling what's exactly happening. I'll probably move your present requests into both those categories. As regards some of the features that you are using today, status check timeouts, estimating the amount of time taken for pods to come up, that's something that is left to the user. As we've discussed, it's something that we cannot predict. So you'll need to have upper bounds that you could probably provide for that. And that would probably mean that you are doing some of these experiments manually before you're running them in the pipeline. That's one suggestion that I have. And there are going to be a lot of defaults taken if we are not giving values inside of the chaos engine. For example, the case where you saw host unreachability because we have 100% packet corruption percentage taken by default in the experiment. So if we're looking at a different result, then we probably need to be providing this value inside of the chaos engine with a lower corruption percentage. HPA was something really interesting. So we do not have documentation which talk about these two things. how your chaos would react in a service mesh enabled setup and an HPA enabled setup. The experiment per se is going to do its job of injection, but the impact of the injection probably with the HPA around might be different than what it would be with it. So for example, the container kill case, you're going to have a long amount of time for the container to come up because of the readiness probes and init delay seconds defined there. The load might get distributed to other pods. You might see a CPU spike. You might actually see a new pod getting created there by the HPA, which you would otherwise not associate with a container kill experiment because its job is just to kill one of the containers. So you're going to see some of these behaviors, which essentially is what you would expect with chaos engineering. You learn stuff about your environment when you do those experiments. And accordingly, you tweak your framework to sort of deal with it. In this case, the particular case that you described, we could choose to have a flag which says do app checks and do not do app checks. Right now, the experiment basically tells you it is a failure because you saw an unexpected event of a new pod getting created by the HPA when a container kill was run. But if you feel that that check should not take place at all, that behavior is something that you want to suppress, that is not waiting for all application pods to be coming up alive immediately after container kill, then you could use a flag to disable those app checks. So this is good feedback. There's definitely a lot to do for us in terms of improving the documentation and improving the observability in terms of logs and metrics. So that's definitely something that we'll take on board. I see that you have created issues on GitHub, so we will be prioritizing that and adding this information there. The status check timeouts, etc., is something that's sort of hidden away in the concepts page. Maybe that's something we need to highlight and make more apparent to users. So it's an advanced something that.
Yes, Karthik. Actually, Karthik, what I'm saying, the sense the pod killing. So I given 500 seconds. 500 seconds in the sense it will be like around 8 minutes something. Okay. So that experiment will complete 4 minutes. The pipeline will terminate got result file got result as a file in 5 minutes. That that container came up at 6 minutes. So what is the use of giving 500 in the timeout?
I see.
So which means that value is not taken. I
Yeah.
given 500 as well.
That could be a bug completely, not denying that, Kadir. So you could create that issue and share the logs with us. That's definitely something we'll look at and provide a fix.
Sure. I will. Yeah, I will do two or three same experiment, and check that how the functionality is going on. Because I tried 3 times. 3 times the pipeline failed. But that experiment's done. That I got result as a fail.
Cool.
So
let's take a look at that. I think it's definitely good that some of these are coming up. We definitely need to take a look at that. No questions about that. Feel free to create issues for this, Kadir. I know that we've been working together to sort of get your GitLab scripts running, etc. But I think if we can create issues with detailed descriptions and logs of what the scenario is and what's happening versus what the expectation is, we'll probably have a better shot at fixing it quicker. All right, I think we've taken up some good time, but there's good info that's available here for us. I'll probably reach out to Omar next. You can talk about, just introduce yourself, Omar, and talk about how you're using Litmus or what you want to use it for, etc.
Yes, good evening. I'm Omar, and I'm a student at Tilburg University and the Technical University of Eindhoven. And currently I'm doing academic research into performance anomaly detection. So basically, I'm working on a machine learning or AI model that can, based on system metrics, detect any anomalies that are taking place. How Litmus comes into this is, in my current setup, I have a Google Cloud cluster, within which I have some microservices running. And I'm also saving the metrics from this setup. But for my models, I need synthetic anomaly data. So Litmus is basically creating, I'm using Litmus to create different kinds of anomalies in that sense. So I'm using the experiments using this. Yeah, and in my experience with Litmus in the past weeks, because I only started a couple of weeks ago, Karthik and I think also a couple of other people have been helping out very well. So I don't really have any complaints concerning the help I've gotten. What was mentioned before actually was also the case for me, and I just had a meeting about this with Karthik. I have also a service mesh included, and I also wasn't able to find any documentation concerning the service mesh. So I'm happy that it also is being taken care of. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Umar. Yeah, I think the number of people using Litmus with service mesh is probably on the rise, which is actually a good sign. There are some annotations you could add inside of the chaos engine and chaos experiments to prevent sidecar injections on Litmus pods, something that I see both Kadir and you have found. So that's pretty good. It will find its way into the documentation. Thanks for that feedback.
Yes, thank you.
I think we have Samar next, who has been using Litmus for some time. There has been some evaluation that they have done and they're trying to integrate it into their development platform. Samar, would you like to talk about how things are at your end? Do you have any sore experiences that you want to share, anything that you want to improve, or anything that's going good for a change?
Hello everyone, good evening. Thank you, Karthik. So for me, yes, I have been using Litmus for I guess past 3 months now, and we have gone a long way since then. So we actually today itself we had a demo for integrating Litmus with our automation framework for chaos testing. So for everyone, just to give you a brief history why we are using Litmus is just to validate our private cloud that we have. So we have different third-party open source services that are running. So I mean, there are different uh, points of failure that have been injected while these services communicating with each other. So in order to evaluate those different point of failures and identify them beforehand, we are using Litmus. And so we successfully like created a automated chain for installation of Litmus running the experiment based on a user input file that in a YAML format using Jinja parsing and Python Kubernetes API, and also I mean Litmus is at the core. So we had a successful demo today, and now we'll be like performing some more tests using the same images that we have built. So we have built custom container images that are like that are installing Litmus, performing the testing, and then producing the result based on the validation. So this has been done, and like most of the suggestions that I have, we already like I have already discussed them in detail with Karthik on a different call. So they are mostly related to the validation part. Like if we can expand the validation part of the Litmus. Like as of now, we do have options, but if we could have some customized options for particular applications, then it can come handy in validating those without writing custom validation scripts and all that part. So that is for the Litmus journey. So it has been good, and like as you all mentioned that we get a great support from the Litmus community and the maintainers. So that is really good, and I really appreciate that. So they are always up to must say that they're really quick in asking the queries, so that really saves a lot of time. That's all from my side, Karthik. Thank you.
Thanks, Samar. I think we'll move on to the Chaos Week announcement from Akram. So Akram, all yours to talk about Chaos Week.
Yes, thank you, Karthik. Thank you, everyone. So, as Karthik and Prithvi at the beginning mentioned, that we are organizing a Chaos Week event that will be from the 3rd May to the 6th. And we will be hosting some great speakers from around the world, such as, and from the Litmus community, such as Karthik, Oma, and Ramiro. And also I will be speaking in this Chaos Week event. For example, as far as I'm concerned, I will be speaking about chaos engineering on multi-cloud, which I will be using Litmus on GCP that will be installed and centralized in GCP, and then I will use it to attack the GCP microservice in GCP and Scaleway. So here we have a French provider, which is Scaleway, and then we are going to use Litmus as a chaos tool. And also we have some other talks, and also, as I've said, we'll have Karthik and Joma from Litmus also, that they are going to talk also about Litmus and the new version of Litmus 2.0. Yes, I will share the link here. Everyone, I've just shared the link with you, so you can subscribe and attend this meeting, this event. Sorry. Thank you, everyone, and that's all on my side, Karthik. I don't know if you would like to add something about the meetup and your talk, if you want. Thank you.
Thanks, Akram. This is a free event. Like Akram mentioned, the link is on the chat. Please feel free to register and attend this event and learn more about chaos engineering. Thanks for letting us know about it, and thanks for organizing this, Akram. I hope we'll have a great set of talks there.
Thank you.
We have a couple of items here that talks about the release that just went by. So we had a couple of releases on 2.0. We had beta 3 and beta 4 since the last time we met. Beta 2 is what we discussed in the last community sync call. Amit is with us, and he will take us through some notable features of 2.0 beta 4. Amit, would you like to share your screen and probably talk about some important screens and features?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Karthik. I'll probably share my screen. I hope my screen is visible. Yes, it is. Hello, everyone. I'm Amit Madas, and I'll be giving a short demo on the new features that we have added with the beta 3 and beta 4 release. So as you can see, like since the beginning, like we have a new updated login screen. Earlier, we used to have the kiosk bird over here and the login page on the left side. And so we have updated the design here, and it looks much more cleaner. So let me log into the portal. So I've logged into the portal, and this is the refactored home page where we get all the details of the previous workflows that I've scheduled. Since I've already created a project, I'm getting all the details of the previous runs. For a new user, the homepage will be pretty different. And so basically, you can see that we have updated the header, the sidebar component as well. So we have actually worked on the better look and feel of the Litmus portal. So I'll now work on the features that we have added. So I'll try to schedule an experiment. So now we can see, like in this step up, we have a few options like choose the agent, choose the workflow. Similarly, if you like reliability score, schedules. And in this screen, we earlier used to have a drop-down menu that shows the agents that we have connected. But now we have a list of like, for now, I have only one of the radio button. But if you connect to different agents, then you will have a multiple set of radio buttons that you can select to run the kiosk workflows. So I have the self agent connected. If I can show the agents, you can see that a self agent is already connected and it is in active state. To connect some external agents, you can use the Litmus CTL binary. You can connect to any other platform like AWS or GK to connect to an external agent and run your workflows there. So for the demo purpose, I'll use the self agent. So I'll click the next button. So we can see currently in the start creating your workflow, kiosk workflow step, we have 4 options, like create a new workflow from the predefined kiosk workflow templates. And the second one is like create a new workflow by cloning an existing workflow. I'll move on to this after some time. And we have an option to create workflows using the MyHubs. So the MyHub we have already in the kiosks. I'll just show it in a second. And we can upload our custom YAML also. We can easily drag and drop the YAML, or we can upload it from our devices as well. So regarding the kiosk hub, like we have a default kiosk hub that you can see here. Like we have all the experiments over here, and it is similar to the hub that consists all the experiments, the public hub. And we have made some certain changes on the versioning as well. Earlier, we used to take it from the master, but now we take it from the latest version that is available. So it is pretty similar to the hub that a public hub that is available. So yeah, I'll go back to the scheduling process. I'll just go and connect this solution. And for the demo purpose, I'll be using this kubeproxy kiosk. In the predefined kiosk template, we have the SockShop kiosk application experiment and the kubeproxy kiosk experiment. And we recently added this potato head kiosk experiment. So for now, I'll just use the kubeproxy kiosk. Go to next. I can edit the name and description over here. And this is particularly the most important screen in this scheduling process. Here we can see the basic structure of the experiment. So we can see that these 2 experiments, the node CPU hog and the pod memory hog, are running in parallel. Similarly, the pod CPU hog and node memory hog are running in parallel. And we can actually see the workflow manifest here, like all the steps here, all the kiosk engine here. Similarly, this way we can actually make some changes as well in this YAML editor. So for now, I'll not make any change. And so to tune some of the work experiments, what I can do, I can click on the workflow name, experiment name, and I'll be introduced to this screen where I can tune my kiosk engine. So we can see that the annotation check is false by default. We can play around it, will make it true or false according to our choice. And we have also implemented one of an important feature, which is the Kubernetes object integration. So now I can view the available namespaces which are present in my cluster. So I can see I have the default one, the kube node lease, kube system litmus. So like for the demo purpose, I can show the litmus one. And for example, if I select the deployments, so in my litmus namespace and where the AppKind is deployment, I have these following labels. So I can select any of the label to perform the application on the target, specified target here. So if I select some stateful set, so in my cluster, I have the state in this particular litmus namespace, I have the app equals to Mongo label stateful set. So like I'll just revert back to it. Okay. So I'll just go next. And here we can add the probes also. Earlier we didn't add any feature to add the probes. So now you can click on this add probe modal, where we will be able to select different types of ports. Like we have the 4 types of probes right now: HTTP, CMD, K8s, and the PROM probe. We'll accordingly get the different options configurables here. Like for the PROM, we have like only 2 here criteria and values. Similarly, if I select the HTTP, I will be having some different values like the get method criteria and response code. So right now I'll not add any port. I'll just go ahead. So yeah, I'll try to schedule this experiment. So I'll go to click next. And we have also updated this reliability score page. So here we can see several points assigned to each of the experiment. So these points are actually required for the calculation of the resiliency score. So for the default purpose, I'll leave everything to 10 and I'll continue next. You can actually modify it according to the use cases. Click on next. So we have a few options like recurring schedule and schedule now. Recurring schedule is required for the cron workflows if you want to schedule some recurring workflows. For the demo purpose, I'll be scheduling it right now. So in this page, you will be shown all the details, final details of the experiment that you've selected. Since I've selected the self agent and the name of the experiment is this, and we have the description like this, and the selected weights are displayed here. We can view our YAML for one more time before proceeding. So what I'll do, I'll just finish scheduling one of the workflow. So we can see a new kiosk workflow has been successfully created. So we'll be going back to this browse workflow table, and we can see some major updates also made in this table. So earlier we were not getting the proper resiliency score or the experiment details. So now we are also getting the calculated resiliency score and also the number of experiments that are present and the number of experiments that are passed. So let me show one of the example, like in this kubeproxy example. You can see that all the experiments are passed, but only one of them has failed. And this detail is shown here. Like there are total five number of experiments, and 4 of them are passed, and 1 of them has failed. Similarly, we have the list of experiments. So I had all the experiments that are present in this particular workflow, and similarly, just like the browse workflow tab in the schedules table, we have also made some important changes. So now we can check the details of the schedules. Like I've ran it 1 minute ago, and the regularity is once. For the cron workflows, we can also check the next run. Since all of them are just a single time workflow, we cannot see the next run. But if the workflow is cron, we can see when the workflow will be scheduled next. And so I'll just go ahead and show the workflow. So here in this graph, we can show, we can see the real-time data that is getting updated with the workflow. And we can see like the first step of install kiosk experiment has completed, and the experiments like the node CPU hog and pod memory hog have just started. These are in the running phase. And to show it in a proper way, I can show some past workflows to get the complete detail. Yeah, so we can see that this workflow is a successful workflow where all the experiments are passed. So we have made some important updates in this page as well. We have made it more significant to get the logs and the kiosk results for each of the experiments. So what the user can do is like to get the details of a particular node, the user can click on that node and he'll get the logs as well as the kiosk results of that particular experiment. So let me select this pod CPU hog experiment. So I'll get the kiosk logs as well as the results of that experiment. So we can see that the phase has been completed and the verdict is passed and the approved success percentage is 100. So similarly, you can also check the kiosk results of other experiments as well. So like it is really helpful for the debugging purpose as well. And we can also view the target application details. Like I targeted it to the kube system namespace with the label kubeproxy and the app kind is daemon set. So this was like about the graph view. Now we'll move to the table view. So in this table view, we can see most of the information, like what were all the experiments that were present in the workflow, and we can see the resiliency score here and the start time as well as the end time and the cluster that we have on which we have scheduled this workflow. So we can click any of the view logs and result to get a clearer idea on what are the kiosk results and the logs. So we can select any of the experiment from this site to get the required data. Yeah, we can see all the kiosk results here for the individual experiments. And moving on to the analytics side, we have one more option here to view the analytics, show the analytics. Yeah, so we have like like for now, since it was a scheduled once workflow, we have only a single bar. But if it's a cron workflow, we can see multiple number of bars here with some data. Like even if some workflow has failed, we can see like a red bar over a green one. And so yeah, we can see the list of experiments that were present and the weight of individual tests and the resulting points which are used for calculating the resiliency score. So yeah, we have the data of all the experiments that were present. So we can see the test result, like this experiment, like most of the experiments were passed in this case. And so this was the update from the workflow, browse workflow site. And so I wanted to show one more feature that we added is that I was talking about was the cloning an existing workflow. So with this feature, what we can do is like if you want to make some changes in some existing workflow. So let me select this one, the Cube proxy kiosk. We can go to its schedule and we can select the save template. So with this option, what we can do is make some changes in the YAML. Like I want to change the total kiosk duration to like 100, and like some other changes like let me change the memory consumption to 600. So I don't want to like download the manifest again and upload it again. So what I'll do, I'll make the changes here and save it as a template. So I'll write it test 1 and description is test. So I'll now save this YAML manifest. So we can see successfully saved template. Now we'll go back to the scheduling options. We'll just, okay. So we can see that the manifest that we have saved is now available here. So let me select this one and I'll go next. So we'll just check it that the data changes are persisting here. So yeah, so we can check that the kiosk duration that we have saved while cloning this manifest are present. The total kiosk duration is 100. Similarly, we have changed this memory consumption from 500 to 600. So all the changes are available here. So like this way, you can actually save some previously ran workflow in the schedules. And with that, we have also made some important changes in the teaming section as well. So now we can see like we have currently one project. If the user is in multiple projects, he can actually see the list of members that are present. Yeah, he can also invite some new members if users are available. He can invite some new users. He can also see if we have some active invitations, and we can also assign the roles to project member like editor, viewer. So like, and we now also have like the documentation link. You can just click here to get to the docs, and yeah, that is pretty much it. So yeah, if you have any questions, I can answer.
Thanks, Amit. That was helpful. What's coming up with Litmus 2.0? If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. You can reach Amit on Slack. You can post the questions on Litmus Slack channel. We are pressed for time right now. We have another 5 minutes. I'll probably do a quick run through of the release on 1.13.3 for all you folks that are on the 1.x.
I'll stop sharing my screen, Karthik.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. So as regards 1.13.3, I'll try to keep the updates short. So we've improved the EC2 termination experiments. One of the requests we got from a previous community sync up call was to filter targets by tags, apart from giving instance IDs. so that you could actually go ahead and select the instance and kill them. And you would also want to kill more than one instance. You could provide a comma separated list of instance. You can also provide an amount of pods that you want of EC2 instances that you want killed, represented as percentage. So it will select all the instances that are filtered by tag and consider the percentage for termination and then kill those instances. So that is a useful improvement was added by Udit. We've introduced a couple of new metrics. One of the reasons why we did that is people wanted to know not just the period when the chaos is active, which is represented by the litmus awaited chaos experiment metric, but and something that's used for chaos interleaving. You're all aware of that. But we also wanted a representation of success or failure of an experiment on Grafana or any monitoring platform. And we wanted to put verdict up there. We already have litmus passed and failed chaos experiments, but they are more of cumulative metrics. They hold the success or failure counts when the same experiment is repeated over time. But we wanted to show the real-time success, so you could use it along with your chaos awaited experiments metric to achieve a richer interleaved dashboards. So we did that. And there have been some improvements related to our abort routines, and we are facilitating abort to take its own time depending upon the activities that depend on the experiment. So each experiment has its own abort routine, and all of them have the default step of patching the chaos result and generating some events, which are essentially operations, Kube API operations, which could take time on heavily populated clusters which have more traffic. So we have the termination grace period seconds that you can configure to allow more time for the abort routines to happen once the SIP term is received against the pods. The pods will receive the termination signal because as part of the abort, we try removing all the chaos pods. So that's an important enhancement that we have made. The abort routines were missing for a lot of infra-level experiments, and they were only supported for the pod specific chaos experiments. So we've added the abort routines for the infra experiments as well. So if you choose to kill an experiment while it's doing node CPU or memory hall in between, then you have the right routines there. Right information being patched into the chaos result and chaos engine, right set of events generated, etc. We've also done a tech preview of a DNS chaos experiment where we basically simulate DNS errors. So this is something that is not available in release, but it's available on the master branch, and so you'll find it in the Go Runner version tagged with CI. So in case you want to try it out early and provide feedback, please do that. Shomu is the developer working on this. You please feel free to add your thoughts around the DNS chaos experiment. You'll find the source for that here. This is the chart corresponding to that. So please feel free to take a look at what it does. We're trying to improve E2E coverage. So one of the important things that we will focus on in the subsequent sprints are documentation and E2E, trying to add more tests to ensure that Litmus framework itself is resilient. We are going to track some coverage metrics here. You can see this rudimentary E2E dashboard. Right now it's just kept to a minimal styling, and we're trying to put some useful information here around what has been covered, what has not been covered, and you will find information around the proposed E2E scenarios inside of a master plan.yaml. So you could take a look at this. So these are the scenarios that we plan to cover. In case you would like us to add more tests for specific scenarios which you can think of, please feel free to raise a PR against this file. You can take a look at this repository, this Litmus chaos / Litmus E2E, and then you have individual branches for the respective pipelines corresponding to the different category of experiments or the components of Litmus. So you can take a look at this file and raise some PRs here. that will help us. We've also been fixing some important issues. One of them was reported by Kadir. Thanks for reporting this issue. This was the failure of the helper was resulting in an ungraceful exit for the experiment pod, and being managed by a job. We were creating multiple experiment pods repeatedly, failing with the same error over and over again. Now we've actually tweaked the start policy there, and you will just enter completed state upon first error, and you can take a look at logs to see what's failed. We also added some missing CRD validations for a couple of things like image pull policy, annotations, runner and experiment annotations and things like that. We also migrated from V1 beta 1 to V1 for the CRD resources because a lot of newer Kubernetes platforms, newer versions of Kubernetes use V1. V1 beta 1 is getting deprecated very soon. So that was one important fix that we made. There are also some other fixes. Importantly, the probe, downstream probes were seen to fail, irrespective of being validated for success if one of the earlier probes in your experiment failed. By this, what we mean is, if in your chaos engine you had 2 or 3 probes belonging to the same phase of pre or post chaos, if one of those earlier probes failed, then all the subsequent probes would show a failed status. So we've actually fixed that to show the correct status. That's one of the fixes that went in. And there have been a few other minor fixes that we've made. One of the limitations, and this continues to be a limitation for the last couple of releases. So this is about making use of Linux utilities within your target pods to CPU and memory chaos. We are replacing that. We have a version of this experiment that uses stress containers residing outside of your actual pods. That is, you have utilities installed in a dedicated container which will enter the process namespace for your target pods and inject the chaos. That's something that we have running locally within the Litmus team, and it should be available. It's basically getting polished right now. So there continues to be a limitation on this release and might make it into 1.13.4. So this is what we have. And like we discussed last time, we will continue to see patch upgrades on top of 1.13, which will be the last minor version on 1.x. We are on course for GA of 2.0. With a few more beta releases, we should have GA that is going to come up in probably a couple of months' time. We should get a clearer picture in probably a month's time on whether we will be needing more time for this, if we need more beta cycles, or we'll be able to do GA. So that's where we are. I think we have overshot by a couple of minutes. Thanks for taking the time to join this community sync up and for providing all that valuable feedback. I think we'll definitely consider that. Please feel free to create issues. The more descriptive your issues are, the easier it becomes for us to get to the errors and fix them. We're always at hand on the Slack channel, so do continue to engage us there. So we'll meet in the next community sync up with more updates and hopefully better documentation. Until then, goodbye, and let's meet on Slack. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah,
Thank you, everyone. Bye.